Today, we're launching season 6 of the Infinite Star Connection podcast with your host, Jeff Demers, my dear friend, and myself, Viviane Chauvet. And one of the perfect way we thought to launch a brand new season, especially in the new 2025 Cosmic Gateway with the one and only unique Laura Eisenhower. And I'm so excited to be here with you, Laura, and Jeff as well. We are so excited to be with you and welcoming you into our beautiful direct energy here. And it is incredible. So, Laura, allow me to introduce you, even though you need no introduction. Your presence speaks alone. But, Laura, you do so much. And you always bring such a dynamic energy with your knowledge, your presence, your wisdom. And today we're going to take a deep dive. So, Laura is truly an internationally known and acclaimed speaker who has been presented her work worldwide. Laura is the great granddaughter of President Dwight David Eisenhower, and she reveals exopolitical information about his administration that has been held in secrecy. Laura is considered by many to be one of North America's leading researchers on health, exopolitics, alchemy, metaphysics, and galactic history. It is known that Laura works to free all of us from the 3D holographic time loop, false archonic system, and the military industrial complex, and exposes hidden agenda so we can take our power back. Thing a call regarding her mission since she was a child, and bless you for this, Laura. She has gained incredible insight through her adventures in the wild natures, connecting with Gaia, psychic development. Laura has so much to share with us and her guidance to the higher energies of Gaia, the earth grids, the global alchemy, DNA, ET race. I mean, name it. Please visit her website, cosmicagaia.org. Welcome for.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's always good to be with you both.
It is always a pleasure to be here. And before we take a deep dive and looking at what is the pulse, how to feel, everybody talk about this new year. This is more than a new year, and I know there's more in store for all of us. I want to see first, Jeff, how you doing, my friend? How things are going? You look better. You seem that you're recovering also very well.
I'm getting there. It's going to take a little bit more time, but I'm getting everything together again. So
yeah.
I'll just have to hit restart.
Yes, yes. And then just so I don't know if you knew, Laura, Jeff went through quite a bit.
Oh, that's right. Oh my goodness. Well, you're looking really good.
I'm getting there.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. So the significance for those of you who have been following us and been so faithful to be part of the Infinite Star Connection podcast audience, we have people from literally all over the world. We are grateful for all of you. We oftentimes have come together doing global healing, helping Jeff and really going through. So for us to be here all together to launch an official new season is nothing short of a miracle. And we are so grateful beyond words to be with each other. And of course, this is why we thought about you, Laura, right away and said, you know what? Let's bring that really high vibe energy and we're gonna explore. We're going to really take deep dive. We're going to talk about things and uplift. It is our time to rise and shine, wouldn't you say, Laura?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and it's a difficult passage. I mean, so much is going on the planet. People are being affected so deeply by, weather events. We had Helene and now the fires in LA. And, if we look just at the bigger global landscape, what's going on in Israel, I mean, it's just like, wow. But there is another side. There is something that emerges out of all this, chaos and destruction. And it's just so important that we remember, that we hold the power to, regenerate, to rebirth, to, you shift our perspective and open our minds up to, a much, much larger picture about who we truly are, what we've been kept from, what we haven't learned about, that you can't really get from a school book. You have to create the space and time for yourself to be able to hear yourself, your higher mind, your intuition, and to follow that inner curiosity. Don't suppress it, don't silence it, and respect that your physical symptoms are very often pointing you towards what your mission is, what your calling is. But we tend to want to make it go away. We tend to want to put a Band-Aid on it, or judge it or label it, when really it's guiding us home, and some of these challenges are kind of what it takes in order to, get to that core truth about all that we are.
That is a profound point you just made about all of the physical symptoms. Oftentimes we hear members or our community or clients or people around us saying, I'm going through all these physical symptoms. My heartbeat is accelerating, my blood pressure is shifting, I can feel to neuropathy, I can feel to my feet, my legs, what's happening. So what you just said right now is tuning in and understanding what this is about, to bring you in closer to what you've come to do or realize. Is that part of what you just share with us?
Yeah, and I think that's what's really suppressed. We grow up in the school systems and going to doctors, just, whatever it is that we were born into is very much looking outside of ourselves or trying to fit into some kind of belief system or indoctrination. And it's not the same across the board, right? And that's where the divide and conquer comes in, that, there's not one narrative being steered. It's a lot about weaponizing diversity to a point where our differences, aren't blended together. And so the division that we see in political parties, the differences in, how we view, one another. I mean, when we're left to our own devices and we're soul-centered, it's not a thing. But when we see these engineered movements, when we see, where we're being pit against each other with these trauma and trigger events or psyop or false flags, that's when it really comes to light how much we're attaching ourselves to a belief system or a label, and this is where we're being tested. We see that a lot of people rise to the occasion and the best comes out of them in the face of challenge. But for others, if they're not processing through the trauma, if they're not, discovering a deeper identity than the labels that they've identified with, it can polarize us more and separate us more. And I think we saw that in 2019, 2020 with the choices that people were making. Families and friends were splitting apart, and there was no ability to really agree to disagree. And there's a reason for that, because we know that some belief systems are so detrimental that it's really taking one down a trajectory that is very, very concerning. But the thing with truth is it doesn't tend to feel threatened if you feel different. It just holds unconditional love and compassion. It's strong enough in its vibration to not go into combat if you think differently. Whereas the ones that are holding on to a belief system that might not be authentic, you can sense that there's an insecurity about it. They're not comfortable with it. They need to convince you, and they don't like you if you think differently. That's a red flag. And I feel that, it doesn't matter what our differences are, that there's greater compassion and understanding that we're all moving away from this inverted matrix that's deceived us, that's harmed us. On varying degrees, we've invested our lives into a portion of it, some greater than others. Some might have been awakened from the get-go and didn't really invest in it, but you still have to wake up to it. You got to put a roof over our head. We got to answer to certain things that we might not feel in resonance with, and it can feel very foreign, but we all hold something so important and unique for one another. And we got to walk through this together without the judgments, without the labels, regardless of where we're at. No matter what our differences are, that, we can see through the eyes and lens of our soul-centeredness instead of the matrix programs. Because even awakened people, they still hold on to certain programs that create division. And to me, that's not true awakening. It's a spiritual growth. And even some religions miss this, where you're feeling condemned or judged if you don't believe what somebody else believes. I think we're moving into a lot more sovereignty and a lot more mutual love and respect for our differences. because in blending our differences, we help to activate dormant DNA. And when those differences aren't based in mind control or social engineered differences, then our soul-centeredness is what helps to break down those programs. And we need to de-weaponize the weapons by not being weaponized humans. And the greatest form of weaponization is when we're all combative towards one another and we're at war with one another. And that's what we have to overcome.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, Oya says that if you look at the profound makeup or the original makeup of the human race, you were never designed to be a race of creating wars and hurting each other and conflict. And I think if you look at the pace of 2025, either whether it's based on Vedic astrology or even it's just the galactic pace, so you can feel it in the Mother Gaia's grids, it's a year of really big changes. There's significant transformation, metamorphosis at work this year. And it's just the launching, it's just the beginning of it.
Definitely. And, with the priority on just like healing, like, the common thread that we all hold, we want love, we want to love others, we want family, we want friends and healthy community. Sometimes people fall into "I told you so" or "this is crumbling because it's your karma." Like, people are trying to define things and put information, behind beliefs that we can't cast on one another or project onto each other. It's really sacred. It's between us and Creator and our own, path. Why certain events happen in our lives, what initiation that represents, what we need to let go of and awaken to, what our perception is about it. We can feel inspired to shift in our favor, but it doesn't help to project or assume when we don't really know the person, right? There's a lot of information out there that, to me, is very low level, low vibration, very tied into like smearing and gossip or just, assumptions about who is who. And you don't really know unless you really know a person. And I feel like people gravitate too much to, what they, hear versus what they sense and what they know deep within. And until you really get to know somebody, you're not going to know. And I think we've all experienced a lot of division within this community where there's smear campaigns or somebody says this or that. And this is where we really need to mature as a humanity and to, let each of us represent ourselves and have that open forum that, allows for people to experience it firsthand. And that it's going to take a bit. I just still see, and I know you both probably agree, that we have a long way to go with really coming together as a global family. And with this full moon in Cancer, when we think about mother, when we think about home, nurturing, security, we have to be that for each other, because there's no foundation of real security unless we first hold it within ourselves, unless we feel, the changes in our lives are upgrading us and taking us somewhere, greater than before. But if we can't be a resource of love and compassion for one another, it can feel very, very lonely. So much is being stripped away from us. Our ego identity, what we believed in, what we attached to, who we thought we were, is being stripped away from us. And we need to help walk each other through all of this by, the common thread of, love and unity consciousness, and seeing for yourself before you're going to buy into whatever information, before you give a person a chance. And it just feels like it's amazing that we're still there in that kind of vibration, that people don't really know better. And I guess I'm kind of speaking from what I've seen lately. There's a lot of smear campaigns about Eisenhower. There's a lot of disinformation and rewritten history that people just gravitate to and they just believe in right off the bat. And we're almost like losing our capacity to really heal as a humanity, reflecting upon events that didn't even happen, engineered events. So if we're relying on engineered events to actually heal as a humanity, we're not getting to the roots. So it's about being a part of this greater conversation, presenting our information without the judgments based in our differences, but really looking at, like, does this line up with what a whistleblower has to say from secret space programs, or somebody who survived MK Ultra, or somebody who's actually been in these families, or has a family member that was there. Mm-hmm. We're losing, so much with AI and engineered events and rewritten history that we're kind of chasing our tail and not getting to the core priority, which is we need to deprogram as a humanity and and overcome the tactics of the deep state that want to pit the root races against each other, that want to pit us against each other by leveraging the traumas of our history through a filter that isn't, exactly the truth. And the more we understand, how these agendas, play out to pit us against each other, owning both sides of political parties and both sides of war, and where the roots are in our ancient history, the more likely we are to just lay down the sword and just realize we have to de-weaponize ourselves. And in doing that, we dismantle 5G, we're the override frequency, and we're doing the greater alchemy.
I love that. Leveraging our past and recreating like a generated history, and I will say even weaving stories around it. And we see that in the so-called spiritual community, even the UFO community, even among, I mean, you and I saw each other recently in person when we were coming out or coming from the Galactic Origin Seminar, which was a fantastic event. And we both were there as speakers. And I remember that really heart-to-heart conversation we had right in the parking lot of the port, and to see that one of the things that we both went through is that defamation of person characters, and be, defamation around, either it's your galactic origin or your lineage, and then be really put down, and then on the profit of some who claim to be the ultimate source, whether it's into, whistleblowers, military, or galactic history. Anyone, like you said, red flag, comes and said, I'm the ultimate source and listen to me. Or, I have give myself the right to put this person down, or to, create stories about someone to really prevent them from speaking the truth and come forward and sharing their knowledge and their wisdom. It is truly a really big red flag. And you and I had a common source that it happened when there was a time where I was being under pressure and attack on public level, thinking that I was a dark agent from Orion and then a hybrid from the Zeta Reticuli and all this ridiculousness, as opposed to same thing with you in terms of not knowing, not honing your own lineage, not knowing what you're talking about, and then be put down and all kind of things like that. That has to stop. That all this negative distortion energy will be revealed naturally this year, because it's a great year of exposure where things are growing, opening. There's so much new planetary alignment coming through. This is no longer going to be allowed, and a discernment needs to get, kicked in, and to says, you know what, I'm no longer going to hold and believe just a handful because they sound so convincing and they look like they have wow information that feed my mind and dazzle me with information. This is not growth.
I know. And that all has to move away. I mean, we've been in such an age of information and, just all these different possibilities when it comes to disclosure, who's helping, who's not on a galactic level. And we have to understand we hold these genetics. You came in, embodied in your Arcturian energy, and but you meet people on a soul level. You help activate. It's not about pushing narratives. It's not about choosing one over another. We're not looking outside of ourselves anymore. We have to understand what's within us. And if we're like caught in that trap, then we're not doing the greater work within ourselves. Unless you see it firsthand and you can determine that within yourself, what are you really going on? You're going on somebody else's information. You've lost your intuition to our information. And that's what, the fake news does. That's what the old paradigm model is. And sometimes that old paradigm model is disguised with new lingo, new terminology that fits the times that we're in. So false disclosure narratives. And I'm not saying that this person's false or that person's false, but these are major red flags, because benevolent beings don't do this. They understand we're traumatized as a species. They want us to ask questions. They don't mind debate. They don't mind, being questioned. I would think that they would encourage that, because blindly trusting or just giving our power away is not where it's at. It's sort of like, if you went through divorce or you went through a lot of really bad breakups, are you just going to fall in love the next time you meet somebody? There's certain parameters or certain boundaries or certain questions or certain things that you need to get to know so that it matches the inspiration you might feel or the chemistry you might feel or the soul connection. But that's not enough That's not enough. We need to be able to ask the questions. We need to be able to feel we have transparency when something doesn't feel right. Sort of like if you're in a group of people and something doesn't feel right, the old paradigm is shut up, just go along with it, to the point where parents are silencing their kids when they say, somebody molested me. Let's not talk about it. We don't want to go there. This denial when it comes to, speaking up when something doesn't feel right. To me, when it's silence, when you're banned, when you're projected upon, or, you don't do it exactly the way that it should be from their eyes, that's all old paradigm. We need to feel empowered. We need to feel like we can say yes and no. But no doesn't mean, rejection. It just means something doesn't feel right. Can we talk about it? And if it doesn't feel right, do you respect my sovereignty? Instead of looking at it like you either follow me or you don't. It's either all or nothing. And to me, right now, it's about developing our personal sovereignty, not looking outside of ourselves or propping anybody up and regurgitating what their information is at the cost of you discovering what your own truth is. I feel that oneness and unity is diversity and harmony, that we all hold, very important missions and a deep, purpose, and that our diversity is a blessing. So we can hear each other's stories and experiences without losing ourselves to having to adhere to a narrative, a belief system, somebody else's experience. You might say, oh, I've had similar experiences, or I'm from a similar place. I feel the soul family connection, but nobody overrides, the intelligence, the thought forms, the visions, the inner calling of another. And that's the world I want to be moving into, is knowing that I can be me, you can be you, and we love each other. And we can blend our commonalities. We can appreciate our differences, but it's all valid. It's all relevant.
Okay, now you guys have been doing this for quite a while, and you have a pretty good pulse of what's going on. How many generations do you think it's going to take before we're at that point where there's the complete understanding of everything? Because there's a singularity coming.
I think it's going to take a while. I think it's going to take a while. I mean, there's a lot of trauma imprint, and unfortunately, humans tend to have to hit rock bottom to, awaken. But it doesn't mean, oh, that's why you experienced a tragedy. I'm not going to speak for that person's experience and create some generalization of, this is why this happened, or that's why this happens. I mean, it's for you to explore and to understand, on your own terms. That's why bringing out, the expression of our children, we want to guide them. We don't want to indoctrinate them. We want the pillars of society, all those swamps, to be drained, so that our school systems aren't indoctrination camps, so that our hospitals aren't death camps, that solve some things, that support, some things at the cost of denying, others. And it's not the fault of the well-intentioned individuals that were educated by the system to become those people in society. But here's the challenge. Here's the test. Are you going to go along with what you're being pushed to do? Are you making people do what you're being told to make them do, with mandates, with different rules, just to keep your job? Is it worth losing your integrity or your better sense of being a decent person? Can we move away from this false sense of security that in the end doesn't really bring us any security? It takes us down a very dangerous path. Can we let go of that and be advocates for the truth, advocates for our children, where, we learn about who that soul is instead of tell them what to be, tell them when they should be confused, tell them that their authentic experience is something to be put into a label or put into a belief system. We need to really step it up, and it's going to come down to, those that are working in these institutions to say enough already. Now we see a lot of people have walked away from their careers or maybe got fired. Going to go along with it. They weren't listened to. They weren't respected. Where are we pulling our resources together so that they can still be teachers, they can still be doctors, but not under the control mechanisms, and so this shift in the administration, right? That's hopeful, but without waiting for it to come from outside of us, can we do it on a ground level in our communities amongst each other, and make sure that the government system that is maybe stepping out of that hierarchical enslavement agenda, can it meet us where our needs need to be met and support that? And if not, can we do it anyway? Are we waiting for disclosure to come outside of us from the governments? We do that amongst each other. I mean, the thing is, we need to develop more self-sufficiency, and then see if what's outside of us is in harmony with that, is compatible with that, that helps to support that. Just like free speech, if we're speaking amongst ourselves and there's some narrative that wants to shut that down, there's censorship, there's channels being taken down because it's not in resonance with what is rising amongst us, because we are the leaders. The powers that be stole our power and energy and our dreams, and siphoned it, harvested it into artificial timelines and engineered events that we are consenting to, that we are in a dependency bond with, that we need to break free from. And then as we stand in our power and our visions and dreams and the gifts and abilities and callings and soul purpose that we, came in with, and we're working amongst each other, is this system compatible with that? And if not, can we be strong enough to not consent, to not play along, because our sense of security and identity is caught up in that web? And this is where it's going to take multiple generations to recover from what our children have endured with indoctrination, what the medical industry has done to people, that the healing centers are going to rise, that we're going to work with higher, more advanced, healing technologies and modalities. And, this is the kind of work that, you came here to do, and that you're guiding humanity into. And hopefully, this will spread far and wide, so that as these swamps get drained, what is rising in these institutions, whether they be torn down or not, is a more holistic approach, and is more about understanding who our children are instead of who we push them into being. Those days are over. We have star seeds that are here amongst us that you don't want to medicate just because they can't sit still in class, or project upon the adults that were those children as being crazy or being woo-woo or being conspiracy theorists. Just give it a chance. Give it a chance, because anything that is sounding the alarm is only to bring us closer to what the solutions are. But we have to understand that we've been in dependency bond with a false parent, with imposter gods, with lower creative forces, that these theories or conspiracies are only showing the red flag, so that you can begin to, thinking intact, to, look back to Mother Earth as providing us all the medicines, the healing tools and modalities we could possibly need, because she's not just Mother Earth. She connects with Stargate. Her stargates connect with the multidimensional, other star systems, higher multidimensional possibilities that is encoded in our DNA that we call junk. So all these different events that are taking place, we can look at as initiations. Upgrade in the face of adversity and challenge, to get closer to our soul and to each other, instead of be, further hooked into the problem reaction solution, where it's 15-minute cities, or it's transhumanism, or it's fake alien invasions. It's like that theater has to clap, but we have to de-weaponize ourselves to be able to perceive a reality beyond the theater. And that's why living our truth is detrimentally.
Yeah, well, there's not many people that could do that, and there's still a long way to go. I figure we got about 20 years. And then, that's it. So you got 20 years more of this crap.
No, I disagree with that. We are in acceleration. We have entered, Gaia has entered a new dimensional space. And I would say the next few years, just to bring a quantification in the linear time, anything beyond 2027, 2028, we're going to be completely in a hole already. Now, there might be soul groups on the planet who will need to continue to the 20 years journey, or whatever, how many years cycle they will need to. They will continue to evolve that way. But overall, there is such a level of expandency and ascendancy that is happening, that is unfolding. And I would say the last 4 or 5 years on the planet, that contractive energy we went through has really ushered the counter response that we are now in, and it's just the beginning. So from that perspective, and again, welcome to everyone. We have friends joining us, beautiful people, very gifted one also, all the way to New Zealand, Australia, and everywhere. I just want to say hello to everyone in the chat room. Very happy to be here with you. If you have a question, a positive question for Laura, you can post it there. Both Jeff and I monitor the chat room and see. But right now, if you're comfortable with that, Laura, with your expertise, would you guide us in terms of whether it's planetary alignment, intuition, research, astrology, whichever format you want to use, to look at why is 2025 really quantified as a year of big changes, a year of profound growth, whether it's with Venus retrograde, whether it's the leverage of Mars going into a retrograde for, growth and expansion, whichever aspect you'd like to explore, would you like to guide us?
Oh, sure. Yes, and I love to bring in George Lewis, fellow astrologer, for this one, but I'll answer that question. I mean, we have to understand that the greater planetary intelligence is repairing its own planetary system. It's encoded in nature to know how to repair what's broken, to be able to rebirth when there's death. And that's winter moving into spring. It's encoded in nature to, have a period of, death in order to birth the new. And when we look at what is new, these are based in the seeds that are planted. So when we look at our creative imagination and we begin to tap into our visions and dreams, and we go through a process of inner reflection and really planting those seeds and anchoring them, there's the harvest. There's where the plants and the new realities are growing. And so we don't want to be unconscious to our own inner darkness. We don't want to be afraid of that. We want to cultivate inner wisdom and connect into, our light energy so that we can weather that darkness or that feeling of death with the reassurance that rebirth follows. So no matter how much sort of dies and gets composted in the time of death, that it neutralizes the soil for the seeds to then, begin to grow. And the astrology alignments help us to see where the greater planetary intelligence is at, right? So we're all born at a different time in our human history under particular planetary aspects. That is the blueprint that we've been given. And over the course of our life, we experience different transits and our planets progress as we move through different developmental phases. And then, with the transits, it's something we all experience. So the transits will show what is the new generations being birthed under, but what are we experiencing and what are we feeling as we grow up in all of it and become adults or more matured. Well, we all carry pieces of this greater planetary healing. That's why each and every one of us brings something very, very important to the table. What are the difficult patternings that we need to break? Where have the planetary energies been manipulated with technology? What is the Saturn moon matrix? How does it show up in your chart? And can we understand that as of 2010, with the sun moving through the 13th sign, that the element of ether has come in, which is part of our DNA, the mitochondrial DNA, the nucleic acids of our DNA being earth, air, fire, water, ether. And with the healing of the mitochondrial DNA and our connection with Mother Earth and the quintessence, our nucleic acids, the elementals within us, earth, air, fire, water, are going through this purification and cleansing. And in this purification and cleansing, we are able to dissolve dark Saturn. We're able to rise to the higher octaves of the planetary intelligence and experience these aspects in more mindfulness and more consciousness instead of being on autopilot, where the deep state is leveraging these planetary alignments to throw us into the shadow, unconscious version of it. That's why when we see major planetary alignments happen, that's usually when a major false flag happens. That's why ascension is right at the same time of proposed New World Order. How can a time of awakening and ascension that's been prophesized coincide with a timeline that brings about New World Order? The two are not compatible whatsoever. So for many, many years, these agendas have been installed in the manipulation of our planetary grid network and how that transfers itself through the media, through our world history, the different world wars, the different events that have taken place. How has that groomed humanity to believe in something during these times that will continue to be captured in these engineered events? While the awakening is dismantling all that to understand that our soul nature and our DNA is encoded with awakening and ascension energies. It knows how to repair itself and heal itself, just like the planetary system. So when we get cut, we know to heal. When we're injured, when we're sick, we know to heal. But if we're under mind control, we are informing our physical body of something that's artificial. And we get sicker and sicker and more dependent. We get further away from ourselves instead of closer to ourselves. All disease and adversity is there as an opportunity to get closer to ourselves, to get to know ourselves more. What are the hidden treasures? What are the greater abilities? What is our junk DNA? In the face of that challenge, can we open up that doorway and retrieve those treasures? Or are we going to fear them, our own power, and ask somebody else to do it for us? And that is what creates the dividing line. So the planetary aspects, the more we know, the more we're conscious and aware of how this works within us. The more we maybe don't know, the easier it is to see an artificial version play out a similar scenario, but without the ability to do the inner work, where that inner work is being done for us. And we're always going to be in the face of a controller agenda or a vampiric force if we don't take it upon ourselves, because we're vulnerable and we're actually asking for it. But if we are empowered, if we take charge, it has nothing to plug into. And that is what de-weaponizes it. That's what starves it. That's what helps us to move into a completely different trajectory where our dreams and visions, can manifest, instead of that vital energy being siphoned into a future scenario that is not to our benefit, but to the benefit of some. So let's bring on George, because he's going to answer this question really well. Is that okay?
Can you introduce him to us?
George H. Lewis is a really good friend of mine, and he's a fellow astrologer. And we are collaborating together, and we're traveling together right now. And I just thought it'd be great for everybody to say hi to him to answer that kind of question.
Hello.
Well,
nice to meet you. I've been listening to some of your work. It's really interesting. I'm very fascinated with the Arcturian, and it's lovely to be able to bring that side more to humanity in this time of transition. It's very important to have a greater understanding of the galactic, because I think it has great import as far as our real history.
Yes, well, thank you so much. What a lovely comment, and I appreciate it so much. George, welcome. As you may know, I'm Viviane Chauvet. This is my friend and co-host, Jeff Demers. We want to welcome you on the Infinite Star Connection podcast, and we are launching today season 6. And so when we, of course, reached out to Laura, she mentioned you, and we thought it was a lovely idea to bring your presence, introducing you to, of course, to our beautiful international audience. And I must say that here in this podcast, we have very dedicated people, like-minded people with our starseed gifted on their journey, very dedicated of the heart. So I know that they're going to receive what you have to share with us very well. So I just want to bring that energy to you, George.
I really appreciate it. It's beautiful. You do definitely offer both of you, a beautiful anchor. It's like a safe home for people to, be able to create and dream into the new earth, the new potential. And I think, from an astrological perspective, which is one of my languages, if I can piggyback off what Laura was saying, I've been saying that I sense that the Great Reset begets the Great Awakening, the emergency begets the emergence. And that polarity consciousness is so important, the fact that we come so close to the New World Order in order to evoke the real divine DNA blueprint that can be brought manifest in all of us. And that's, where it connects to the whole galactic conversation, because once our DNA is turned on, the mitochondria is turned on, and the inverted Saturn is visualized, witnessed, and then alchemized, we have this potential to join the galactic family, because we kind of come online in the correct way. And all the planets moving out of these, not just Earth signs, the outer planets moving all into different signs, is a really big indication this year of 2025. I overheard your conversation with Laura a moment ago about 2025. It is a year of completion. It's a 9 in numerology. And that's powerful stuff, because it is endings and beginnings, and it coincides with the potential of this new administration, and they have to prove it to us, we the people, very, 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 very deeply. But I also feel, from my perspective, and obviously I have an English accent, I'm a dual citizen, I speak as an American when I'm going to say next, is there is an ingredient that is at the moment somewhat lacking on the European continent and in the British Isles. And I say this to be a little provocative, for us to lean into that ingredient. And the Americans tend to have this ingredient a little bit more, and it's called faith. And that's a very important part of the consciousness on our planet. It's not to be naive, but the mandate that is being offered this time is different from the mandates of the past, in my mind. And so my faith is strong, and the administration about to come in has to prove it very fast and very intensely to us. But the astrology, I look at mundane astrology, the astrology of the United States birth chart, it was founded during Pluto at 27, 26 degrees Capricorn. And then what happened, the Constitution was put into place when Pluto was in Aquarius. Now we have Pluto in Aquarius, the next cycle. It's time to deliver the Second Republic. And as we go into the Second Republic, here we all are helping birth it together through consciousness.
Yes. And that consciousness and mindfulness is how we co-create, being unconscious, being unaware of our multidimensional nature, the higher harmonic universes, what our DNA is truly made of, and what these cycles represent and what these times represent. We're just going to be getting it from the news and all these different tactics that hook into us. And so when I was talking about just how nature is encoded in nature to know how to heal, regenerate, and evolve and repair itself, and the planetary intelligence knows exactly what to do for its system to repair and override and overcome Atlantean cataclysms, dark technology that's been installed in it, we too have the power within ourselves as a replica of this to override whatever implants, whatever mind control, whatever social engineering, and how that's passed down generation to generation to the point where you're born with it. It's not just something you develop over the course of time. It's actually in our damaged genetics, but our damaged genetics are a lot easier to heal than we realize, because epigenetics is based in our thoughts and beliefs. If our thoughts and beliefs are hooked in and energetically corded into something vampiric, then that DNA expression is leveraged to battery up an artificial timeline. If we call that back by aligning with our higher mind, our greater dreams and visions, and we stay consistent, and we use that Mercury, that magician energy, to stay consistent in speaking it, grounding it, and becoming it, and embodying it, and you shield up, there's nothing that can penetrate and take that energy and life force anymore. That's why I, constantly say the powers that be are the powers that stole. They never had the power. We are the ones with the power. And the more we call that back, and we allow ourselves to turn the anger and rage of this deception or this manipulation or this abusiveness, and turn that creative energy into the direction of solutions and rebuilding, we're going to utilize that powerful transformative energy of the Pluto-Mars opposition, and we're going to rise from these ashes. The thing is, I look at it like a divorce. We're divorcing ourselves and breaking up with the inverted system. It's become so abusive that there's no way to continue to consent anymore. Just like if you were beaten up or you were hurt one more time by that partner you kept forgiving or you kept believing in, you thought that actually loved you, that it's game over. And now we recognize our true worth, that we deserve better, that we are divine beings. We have a divine blueprint. We can create with Mother Earth, with the greater multidimensional cosmos of our creative imagination, to align with the true birthright and what our true connection with God's source is bringing forth through us as conduits of our true divine parent inheritance, because we inherited the genetics of our divine creator, but it's been manipulated into the Anunnaki version, Black Sun, Sons of Belial agenda, to where our genetic code is linked into these programs in order to keep them in power. But the thing is, you can't destroy that divinity. You can't destroy the power of spirit's ability to alchemize and break this down. And that's what they want us to forget. And that's why they leverage amnesia and the vulnerabilities of trauma. And that's why they create trauma events, because as long as we feel vulnerable enough, they can swoop in and solve the problem for us. But we're going to determine that we're going to solve it together and come together.
Jeff?
Who is they?
These are vampiric fallen groups that compromise their DNA on purpose in order to maintain, control. That we can look at the Anunnaki, we can look at the Orion Wars and the original invasion of Lyra, but it's the stepping down of human consciousness and the manipulation of our incarnate consciousness and hybridization programs and all sorts of ways to steer our energy away from true source, that, we start to see it manifest in the world without understanding who Sophia is, what the Christ Sophia divine template is, what the tree of life is, and how that relates to the planetary grid network. This is all to keep us from that, so that this vampiric system is feeding on our light because it lost connection to true source.
You also can see it just in the way normal society is set up. It is designed to keep us in the lower three chakras, and it is designed to suppress the pineal, the crown, the throat chakra. I mean, in this sense, I'm not a galactic contactee, so I'm speaking it just as an earthling having this experience right now. And I think, what we're trying to do is activate the toroidal field that is the heart, which, Arcturians and Palladians and higher galactic families understand this because they've been through this evolution already. And I think that's why we're here to help is to reactivate that heart chakra, which is very powerful because it's a toroidal field. And once it's activated through clean water and through clean earth and through clean food and of course clean beliefs and clean ideas and love, then everything gets integrated. So the lower chakras, the love making becomes part of the sacredness as opposed to the desecration. And I think to follow on from what Laura said about the DNA, is really our biography is shaped not just from our biology. Actually, our biology is shaped from our biography. And I think that's what's so interesting, is when we start to understand our thoughts do affect the way our biology is. And the more we can lean into that and understand that, we can become much more powerful co-creators and active as opposed to passive. And that's part of the Great Awakening, is the actualization, the Aries energy, if you like, where the North Node we've had for the last 18 months, to real teach self-sovereignty, because human beings have a collective amnesia because we don't fully understand, because we have no memory of true freedom on our planet. And our job now is to try and remember what it is to be free. And by remembering it, we can activate it simultaneously. So our biography becomes our biology.
Okay, now I got a question for all three of you guys, because you guys are pretty good. And this is just a nuts and bolts stupid question, that most people, I think the people would want to know. When you meditate, are we all connecting to the same source or individual source?
Do you want me to, Laura, do you want to go first?
I'll just answer real quick. I feel we have our own higher self, our own unique direct connect with our higher self, which links into source energy. It's part of that higher intelligence that gets downloads, that notices the synchronicities. Your third eye is able to perceive of it instead of the things that reinforce your fears or anxieties, which is an important thing to, always give unconditional love to. I feel in the state of meditation, we find that stillness, we find that neutrality, we lift ourselves, into that alignment to really, ground it with our grounding cord into the earth. I feel it helps to restore the tree of life template, where we have a root system, but our branches are wide open, to receive and nourish, the whole system. And it's very easy to, get disrupted in this, physical reality. And if we don't take the time to do that, our nervous systems are, stressed, our vibration, is overwhelmed. We're constantly being bombarded, and it's very easy to be thrown off center. So when we are in our breath, when we do, link into our divine center, I feel our higher self connects into where we all connect to, which is the source that we all came from. And it's our higher intelligence that gives us the unique expression to move through, the truth of all that we came here to be, that harmonizes with the uniqueness of what everybody else came here to be, that we can strengthen in meditation to, begin to, integrate together to restore that tree of life template as a humanity, and how that relates to healing of the planetary grid network as well. We have to shut down that noise and all this infiltration of frequency modulations and distortions in order to connect to that same source that unconditionally loves us and loves our differences and the unique gifts and qualities that we've all been given. That is meant to work together, just like an ecosystem where all the plants and animals and the flora and fauna, create the ecosystem that sustains life. We can sustain, ourselves when we do this.
Okay. So if I understand it correctly, you're saying that we are connected to the Creator.
I feel like we all connect to source energy, and it connects into our crowns, into our higher self, galactic chakras, and helps us to be more of who we truly are and what we came here to be. That when we're in that higher state and in that embodiment, it naturally knows to harmonize and connect with others with mutual love and respect, instead of I'm right, you're wrong. And it helps us to find wholeness and lift the veil. And but anyway, what do you want to say?
No, I think actually I'm going to express exactly what Laura said, but in a different way, in a different languaging. And maybe that is also symbolic and also reflective of my analogy. When I meditate, I reconnect with my higher self, my individual blueprint, but simultaneously, I'm sorry?
Your oversoul?
Yes, that's another word for it. Exactly. I I reconnect with something much older and stronger and more wise than the man that is George here having this 3D human experience. But by doing that, I think I then connect into the divine matrix of source creator as well. So for me, that's the unity consciousness. I individual, you Jeff, your individual, Vivian's individual expression or soul taps in to that divine maternal or whatever it is matrix. And of course, I'm very comfortable that I don't have the words to describe, to define that original source. And I'm okay with that because I'm in this form right now. So the meditation allows me to connect with my higher self and as a result, activate my true life purpose that is closer to God, to consciousness. I call it source creator. It's the same thing. Semantics don't bother me because my intention is to connect to that. And I leave it at that. I love people using different languaging. For me, I speak other languages. I'm very attracted to people who have different languages. I'm very comfortable with an Arcturian talking to Palladian and Andromedan. For me, the division is artifice because that's the ego. So when I tap into that, I say, oh, Jeff's expression is wholly unique. And he's using that languaging to tap into that because he may come from this rather than that. How beautiful is that?
Yes. Yeah. And just the understanding and the knowingness. We all come from the same source, and all the many different expressions are an expression of source creator. And it's to free oneself of the indoctrination, the social engineering and the mind control and all these subpersonalities that are carrying labels that were taught to us that don't come from our unique expression. And in the state of meditation, we really charge that up. We connect into that. And then when we walk through life, these things don't stick to us as easily.
It
just dissolves away because, we've strengthened our auric field. We've grounded into Mother Earth. We've opened our crowns up to Source Creator, and we can be our authentic expression because there's a lot of, people that are strong in their labels and who they are. But if it creates division, if it creates judgment towards others, if you see yourself as a higher and above, others, you've kind of missed the mark. So it's pulling the ego out of compartmentalism and opening it up to being a vehicle for the expression of true source love, unconditional love.
Isn't this also the journey of Saturn coming together with Neptune, the dissolving in a way of those boundaries, those artifices, that Neptune at the highest expression is the connection to source creator?
Yes. I mean, all the multi-dimensions, Saturn being the law of structure, rules, responsibilities, and disciplines, instead of ones that repress us and control us and limit us, the tyrannical form of authority, it's us taking it upon ourselves to determine what boundaries we need, what rules and responsibilities help us to thrive, which would be eating good food, getting exercise, the rules and restrictions we want to place upon ourselves to be better versions of ourselves versus the rules and authority and mandates and tyranny that, cause us to feel stressed, blocked, depressed, insecure, confused, and lost.
And conversations like this to allow for the restructuring to happen with faith and cosmic higher sense of connection, which is cosmic divine love.
Yes. And reaching into that, instead of this is what the future holds and this is the trajectory that humans are on, what about what you envision? What dream did you come here to create? The artist that uses life as a canvas, that recognizes life as a canvas for our words, the magician archetype, just to explore all possibility. Like when a doctor says you'll never be able to walk again. Well, what if you determine that you will and you do? Is that a medical miracle, or is that you stepping out of the pattern and the rules and responsibilities or limitations that have been placed on us that we learn? Does it align with our intuition? Can we come up with something better, and can we stand strong in that to see the results, to defy the odds and realize that all potential exists in our imagination? If we can envision it, we can create it.
I mean, it happened to me twice. So, Vivian, your thoughts on that? Because there's an end game here that I'm getting to.
Yes, and I want to just first acknowledge both you, Laura, and George, and the energy and the synergy that you create for all of us. I love the way, the balance, the beauty, the knowledge, the reference to how the planet works. Even our friend David here in the chat was talking about, the giant Saturn platform and how everything is shifting. So I love the way you both express your own interconnection with what we call the supreme source of the prime creator energy. And from our perspective, is that we do recognize that every sentient life form is a fractal or an expression of that holographic expression of the prime creator. And if you look at, we look at the multiverse or the quantum field, it's infinite, expressing infinite in multitude of ways. So we're starting to really tune, I think that part of the evolution on this planet, and not only for Gaia, but the Earth quadrant and beyond the solar system, it's that redefining of recognizing infinite, expressing infinite in a multitude of aspect, even what we call the dark light polarity, the yin and yang, the polarization, the dualistic energies. And it's really interesting to watch how it actually plays out with each other. Because as one aspect is pulling on the blanket on one side, it co-creates a response on the other side, and then it co-creates, it interweave at the same time a design. Look at just the umbrella of COVID, as you call it, and that um, global pandemic. Now, we knew at a higher level that it was going to generate a huge counter response in the light of 2025 as the year 9, and today it's episode 99, just so you know. So we are in the energy of
Oh wow, that's
999.
really
The
great.
9 and
This
9
is
is
episode
18, 8 plus 1
99.
is 9.
Oh, I feel very honored to be on this tonight. That's very symbolic. And
Isn't it absolutely synchronistic and very symbolic?
synchronistic.
Yeah, it really is. Today
Yeah.
we are celebrating the launch of the new season with episode 99, and you talk about year 25 being 9. So it's really was meant to be that for both of you. And so we're looking also at a bigger design that is also a bigger divine, not bigger, but as a divine intelligence that is interweaving movement. And everything is about evolution. Everything is about invitation to evolve, even for those who seems to retract or be stuck or to be put in narratives or to descend into different realities. It is still a form of evolution. And yet, at some point, we have 111 people watching live, but we have more now. But all the symbology, not only on the numerology, but also the presence of all four of us, and also, I'm observing the divine balance between the expression of the divine masculine and the divine feminine energies coming together, and how we are really co creating, interweaving a very unique imprint called an episode of a podcast. Well, this is so much more than that. So I want to observe all these beautiful synchronicity unfolding as I'm watching all of us interacting, the chat room, people, energy. We're really moving into so much more than being. Oh, thank you for coming to the podcast today. No, there's a distinct divine synchronicity unfolding here. I don't know if you feel that, right?
I'm so glad you got to join us.
It's very nice. Thank you. Beautiful energy, both of you. And I'm looking
Oh,
forward to meeting more of your community in time,
yes, absolutely, and very happy. And Laura, thank you for introducing George to all of us. And going back to Jeff, my friend, I know that you have a chic to hold a space in a very unique way, and I love that about you. And you were asking questions, so I think there was something else behind it. Would you like to add more to what you ask of us? And
Well, I actually asked the UMO. Now, I've been studying the UMO since the early '80s, and I've amassed quite a lot of information. And I asked them about when you guys meditate, because they meditate on a daily. You know, who do you meditate? Is it just with you guys or what? And the answer is exactly the same as what you guys said. Is that they go to their source, which they call WOA. Now, I'm going to show you something that they sent me, and it kind of explains it in a graphic way. Hang on, here it comes, which I found unique. See that?
Hmm.
Oh,
And
yeah.
oh yes,
and you can see that I deciphered all of these things so that I can understand it. but that's how they do it. Is that's their way of meditating to their source or their creator or their divine whatever.
Very neat. Wow.
And they're very specific. But that's exactly what you guys were talking about.
Oh, and that's from the Umo?
That's from the Umo, yeah.
Okay, remind us again, who are the Umos?
They are an extraterrestrial race, just similar like us. I mean, you can't even tell the difference between. I mean, they could be sitting next to you. You would never know, but they've been around longer than we have.
Are they part of the galactic human family?
Yeah.
Yes. I like the symbols. I'd love to learn more of these symbols. They're very fascinating. I haven't seen them before.
Well, I created a dictionary that describes every single one of these, and I got it with all the ideograms and the explanation. So, and that's going to go down to Rice University with me. But
cool.
But anyways, and we are all connected to the source, even though that they're going their way and we're going our way. It's the same thing. It's just a different. I mean, we personally, physically don't, but we connect to our oversoul, and our oversoul connects to that.
In our higher self, it's like we have to surrender and trust a bit more, and then we can perceive the events that take place in our life from a place of wisdom and understanding instead of victimhood or judgment or duality or this is misfortune, this is bad luck. Or, I mean, I just know that when I was able to see the events in my life from that perspective, I felt, a greater connection. I wasn't looking at it through the lens of what society might have to say, and there's so much of this is how it should look. This is what success means, and we're going through a major change with Uranus and Taurus that has to do with self-worth and abundance. And Uranus is the wrecking ball. So it's sort of dismantling belief systems connected to our self-worth. And if our self-worth is owned by somebody outside of ourselves, that we can only perceive worth based on a validation from outside of ourselves or the punishment reward system where we're either underneath it or above it or, succeeding along with it. What about self-worth in our own terms? What if we consider abundance to be a lot different than what we've been told and taught? There's greater wealth out there than the money system that is a part of the debt enslavement society system that we've been in. And when we can manifest from a greater sense of self-worth, then we're living the careers, we're living the life that is a part of our value system, that is in our highest integrity, that we're of service to others, that what we hold as an energy exchange is supporting, something that is our spiritual path, just like Pisces, Virgo in opposition to each other. Are we living the dream? Is our physiology, is our physical nature embodying our spiritual path so that they're not compartmentalized? So you just don't go to church on Sunday, but your every moment, you honor the sacredness of it. You commune with earth, you put good things in your body, you take care of the physical. And this, level of integration, the outer planets help to dismantle where the programming has been installed in order to experience the fullness of what it can be. And an integration of polarity, we begin to move through the seals and fences that have been placed in our DNA that have kept us more polarized, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I feel also creativity. I mean, let's take me. I can just experience this now in this group of 4. And obviously we've got the energy of your community, your family, galactically, as well as from a Terra Earth perspective, is when I can only speak for myself, when I'm in this creative flow, like now you're expanding my potential. I feel lighter, I feel more creative. My mitochondria is activated. I know my DNA is reconfigured. The blood changes because the thoughts are growing, as opposed to the negative Saturn, which is the fear of the old world, is the fear of I may not know enough as you guys to be, so I'm silenced, as opposed to, oh, I'm a child. I'm quite interested to learn more. My gosh, this is exciting. That's kind of how I operate from the puer aeternus, the eternal child, because it allows me to be free and authentic. And I think that is what we're trying to, I have to practice that. And I'm also, by learning that, I can potentially teach it because I'm learning it. And that's part of the human school, of course. We often teach what we most need to learn. So this is also the Aquarian age, and Pluto is in Aquarius, and Mercury is exalted in Aquarius, which means the mind has come to the end of its road as far as the mind in of itself. It has to be more creative, more authentic, and more heart-centered. And obviously the higher terrestrial beings, the non-terrestrial beings of the higher realms anyway, can show us insights into that.
Yes. I just want to say one more thing too about Saturn. When people call this a prison planet, the prison is, we can only imprison ourselves. We have to be determined to set ourselves free. And I kind of redundantly say that, we're in a war on consciousness, but we can only win the war within ourselves. We keep thinking we win it outside of ourselves, but we have to first start here in order to be able to perceive it outside of ourselves. If we're operating under a programming, we're only going to see a trajectory of the human condition moving down a trajectory of further enslavement, further control, but mistaking it for human events that are unfortunate, but we're just going along with it. When we dismantle all that within ourselves and win that war on consciousness to rise to the occasion of harnessing our creative power and intention and connection to our visions and dreams, then we see something reflect back to us those possibilities. And so imprisonment is only where we allow somebody else's thought forms to override the inspirations and the calling that we were born with. And that's why our future generations deserve our guardianship towards them in order to help get to know them instead of indoctrinate them, to know who they are, why they came, what interests them, what are their passions, what do they want to speak about when they raise their hand, what truth do they have to impart upon us instead of shutting them up, shutting them down, and telling them to regurgitate whatever's in their book. It's time to put the books down because we're the library. We hold the knowledge and wisdom of times before that we want to embrace and capture and appreciate and develop in the children that are born in every generation from this point on. These are the lessons we have to learn.
Yes, absolutely. Both of you very well said. And it's also part of what we call a great reversal thought system, that when you were a child growing up after times, part of the core value you thought is you are unworthy. You don't know you have no knowledge what you're talking about. Your words or your voice have no meaning, no impact. So it can influence how the subconscious or building blocks around subpersonalities, programming, absorbed belief system influences that become interweave with the subpersonality and how it's been played out. So we always say, in terms of on the intergalactic enlightened levels, looking at human beings as a species with so much capacity for love, compassion, with just the energy you carry in your living aura and so forth, that worthiness is implied. And it has nothing to do with what you have to earn on the 3D personality human level. You are worthy because of who you are at the core. And I think that's also interweave what we've been talking about, sharing, exploring, and all of this. And I think this is really important to remember, that I reclaim and I know my worthiness. It is implied because of my I am presence. I am this being of light. I am, this representation, a spark of creation, an aspect of creation. And what and who you are, who you choose to be, it's going to simply shift the nature of your projected reality and what your soul has come to experience, learn, and ask, what is it I wish to do with the time that is given to me in this time frame? Because the lifetime you're experiencing right now, it's a unique time frame that will never repeat itself, that will never repeat twice itself in the exact same sequence. So the time frame that is given to you is unique. So we always say, rise to it. What is it you really wish to create? What is the blueprint you wish to, manifest and leave behind, so to speak, as you continuing to evolve beyond this reality and go, okay, now I'm returned to the realm of light. Now I understand what this journey was about. I forgot so many aspects of it. So busy getting caught up on unworthiness, fear, and blame and guilt and grief. Grief is a big energy that also needs to be healed and released so you can make room to experience more. And I know that there are a lot of life changes going on, whether it's change of home, marital status, health, physical directions, mental, spiritual, Just allow yourself to become this higher version of yourself. It's just what I feel with listening to both you, Laura, and George, and of course the input of my dear friend Jeff. Or I'm so thrilled to be here. Um, on that note, I have a curiosity that I like to explore. And George, I think you will be perfect in alignment maybe to explore that with us. We look at, from an astrology perspective, looking understanding the profound changes, how the planets' alignment really teach us what they represent in our consciousness. And the thing about the energy about the north and the south nodes, I know that those nodes are really important. And I will just to share very quickly, just to bring a perspective of why I'm asking this question, is a long time ago, someone told me, looking into my chart, says, "Who your south node is pushing you out of your nests, and you're moving straight forward into your north node, where you are expanding, you become the world." And it was like, I'm embodying the world, and there was some information shared that really still to this day I still remember that. And when I doubt, or I tell myself, "Oh, this work, why are we doing this?" I remember what I was told about the change in my notes. So, George, from your expertise, and of course, Laura, you're more than welcome to give any input. We love hearing from you. Um, from a planetary perspective, if you look at the major nodes on the planet, what change are we seeing in the notes for this year, since it's a year 9
Yeah.
of profound change? Would you share a little bit about that?
I would. May I, just out of my curiosity, ask you where your north node is, or would you prefer to keep that quiet?
Oh no, there's no secret. Let's see if I can tap into my graphic memory. So I'm looking at the chart north. Um, between, if I remember, yes, I do remember. They say yes. Okay, show me 9, 10, 10, 11. Between, I think it's between 10, 11 house.
Yeah, but until I know your ascendant, I wouldn't know. It doesn't matter
Oh,
for the moment, but I'm always curious. So the north node for
course.
the last 18 months has been in Aries. Aries is the baby of the zodiac in many respects, because it can be the impetuous child, but it also can be the divine puer aeternus. It can be the very curious child who steps into the light. It has a quality of the Fool card, even though that's not the exact correspondence. And we move back into Pisces, which is definitely the oldest sign of the zodiac. But the irony, of course, with Pisces in the era in which we're leaving, from which we're departing, is we've sadly experienced a largely inverted Piscean archetypal expression for the last 2,000 plus years. Maybe there have been some times in the past, maybe the Dark Ages, Tartaria. We don't fully know yet, because history hasn't told us the truth. But this time, as we move back out of Aries, where we've learned, many of us, to assert our independence, to assert our sovereignty, our belief in freedom, our individual expression, we now start to apply it in a cosmic fashion. We start to apply it in a way that is musical, artistic, but divinely inspired. And because the relationship is always about the north-south, the breath, the in and the out, as above, so below, so within, so without, as the universe, so the soul, it's this sense of our health, the Virgian quality, because it's the south node. How are we responding to our divine blueprint within our bodies, understanding the nature of the body, the gut? Maybe in that sense, it's a sense of using the real divine knowledge of the gut to allow the cosmic expression to come out fully integrated and fully conscious. So I think the next 17, 18, 19 months is going to be really about us looking at each other and ourselves within a strong spiritual way, but practical, Virgo. Practical. What are the roots of it? It has physical and nutritional and energetic vitality and import. And so by getting the body right, we then can have that cosmic expression. By getting the cosmic right, we can then have a better bodily expression. So I feel that's what it's about.
Oh, it's for sure. That's so beautifully put. And I just want to share just a few words on that. Mercury is the ruler of Virgo. It's an earth sign. What is our mental health? How do we talk to our bodies? The integration of Neptune, Pisces, with the Virgo is that we have endless thought forms that we can pull from. Is it coming from a programming, or is it coming from our truth and our vision? When we're connected with truth, our body thrives. When we're connected to programmings, our bodies suffer. So the breakdown of our health is to have a breakthrough and understand that we can change the belief systems. We can change the dialogue that we have. We can change the projections. We can bless our food. We can change the way a frequency comes into our body and change the vibration within ourselves in order for it to actually become healthy. In the event that we've breathed in something or taken in something toxic, we have to understand frequency. So to avoid having to do that extra work, though, are we consciously mindful of what we ingest, whether that be in the form of food, whether it be in the form of information, whether it be in the connections that we hold and the friendships that we have? What is our dialogue with our bodies and each other and in our physical life? What do we do when we wake up in the morning? Virgo has to do with our routine, our habits, our health, our physiology. How are we dialoguing? Are we in connection and dialogue with Mother Earth? Are we noticing the animals that show up in our lives? Are we, paying attention to, the herbs that can help our healing process? Or is our mind caught up in the news or caught up in something outside of ourselves, or the conflict and the struggle, where that mental energy is becoming, toxic to our physical body because it's not purifying itself in the healing waters of the Neptune, in the higher vibrations of, the Neptune energy. So the creative imagination, the spiritual, the mystical, anchoring itself into the physical body is the restoration of the tree of life. Because when we look at it, Virgo holds the root system to the earth. Our mental body holds the thought forms. Are we in the 3D mental loop, or is our mind expanding into the fullness of our creative imagination and all that's possible? And if it's in resonance with our heart's inspiration, with our soul calling, our body will thrive. If it's not in resonance, can you say no? Can you say, I do not consent? Can you form a boundary? Can you redirect your life in the direction of where you can manifest these dreams because you're around like-minded people, you're around supportive community, or you found peace in the solitude of the Neptune energy, which is the sacred space of not loneliness, but sanctuary. And in that sacred space, we don't welcome everybody in. It's quality over quantity. Do we know when to close the door? Do we know when we need plenty of sleep? Do we, appreciate the lucid dreaming of the 12th house, of the astral and beyond, so that our physical world is in that dreamscape, that we see the metaphors, we see the knowledge and wisdom present itself, so that we can be conscious and mindful dreamers. So it's body, mind, spirit integration and learning where Mercury has fallen prey to programs that don't serve our health and well-being, to realign it with something much more magical.
Beautiful. I mean, I just love the energy that you, again, I'm looking at the complementary, the synergy, how you co-create and, bring so much clarity and direction and inspiration. I can see that also in the chat room. So thank you so much, both of you. Jeff, my friend, comment, questions, anything you would like
Yeah,
to add?
I got one more question. Do you think that we need, or wait, let me think about this. How I want to say it. What is your thoughts on an alien interaction? Would that awaken the people that don't get it yet, when they know that there's something else out there other than themselves?
I'm going to go first as the kid who knows least out of this quorum about this. I think there's going to be an extended growing part of our population on planet Earth who's going to be very excited, because of course Hollywood's always going to paint, as they always have, demonic Hollywood, the alien in a dark reptilian grayish fashion, where
Yeah, Hollywood's gone.
Yeah, no, I realize that, but I'm giving the historical context almost myself. And the galactic kaleidoscope of color and beauty with the real non-terrestrial family is very exciting. So I think there's going to be a ever-growing segment of our planetary population who will welcome it, because it will come very beautifully. There will, of course, be some where they haven't gone through. It's a bit like the gates going through the Panama Canal. You've got to go through certain locks. There are going to be obviously certain segments of our population who are going to be freaked out by it because they haven't done the spiritual work. Again, back to the Piscean North Node. If this is where it's so powerful and it's so universal, this is why I love the language of astrology, because it allows Tom, Dick, and Harry down at the pub to get on the bandwagon, to join in. This is a collective growth, and all our job is to share that good news with Tom, Dick, and Harry. And
yeah,
so,
there's going to be a flood of people that's going to search you guys out. Like, what the fuck, man? We got to find out more. What's going on here?
And
Did I say something? Oh, sorry. I did a Laura.
Oh, what, an F-bomb?
Yes.
Laura? Oh. Yeah, so I mean, Neptune is the unconscious becoming conscious, right? When we look at unconscious energy and we shine a light on it, we recognize the multidimensional. We recognize that we're not alone. We recognize that there's many, many dimensions. And in those many, many dimensions, there are other beings. But this corresponds to our dormant DNA and our ET genetics. So where is Neptune delusion? Where is it facade? Where is it theater? Where is it playing on our imagination so that we gravitate towards something that might be artificial or false or engineered? This is when we need to align and ground and work with the physical so that we answer to the physical, like George was saying, so we feel into what our bodies need, so we nurture it and take good care of it and live our truth so that our bullshit meter actually works and we can see through the deceptions. Because once we see through the deceptions, we're going to notice on a multidimensional level, we have everything from the vampiric and the demonic to the angelic and to the guardianship and to the higher, beings and races. But this is all a part of the frequency that we're carrying and what we can witness. And in neutrality, we can see the many different options and we can walk in sovereignty in alignment with the higher beings that are in resonance with our higher self. And we can also recognize where we need to shield from the vampiric forces that want to plug into the loosh, the fears, the trigger events, and the psyops. So as this bigger picture opens up for us, we can make more informed choices so that we remove ourselves from the hooks, just like we would want to in a relationship that's playing upon our vulnerabilities, our insecurities, our fears, our abandonment issues, and all the things that it might leverage for its favor, versus unconditional love that will help support us in healing and overcoming these wounds. And we need to have the self-worth to know the difference so that we're no longer played, just like we would have to with other humans in our lives. It's just, we're going to now see energy that we weren't able to perceive before. And in that, it's no different than the discernment that we need with our friends and loved ones. So, or new people that come into our life. So new beings that come into our life. Is it meeting you in your growth? Is it supporting that? Or is it wanting to fix the problem for you? Any benevolent being that's coming in wants to encourage our self-development and not do it for us. And that's where we need to take it upon ourselves to meet them by approaching it within ourselves as something that we are going to.
The more we raise our frequency, the more we can connect with them.
Yeah, nothing's going to come and save us. We need to meet these energies in our journey to saving ourselves from our own negative ego, from our own tendency to hook into delusion. Somebody else to do it for us. But we will meet those on the level of that which we are willing to meet within ourselves to support this. What do you think?
Yeah, totally right. I mean, I think as the more we activate ourselves, the more then the frequency bandwidth expands, and that's when we can start to have greater contact. I mean, the few experiences, I can only speak personally, I've had 2 or 3 non-terrestrial experiences in my life, and they were at times when I was able to open something up in me which was higher, more conscious, more divinely connected, more open, and they probably were able to lower theirs to meet mine, and that was very beautiful. I mean, that's to me science. This is where science and art comes together. For me, the divine has always been part of science as not an art. I mean, in that sense, as an artist, I have always understood that the two go simultaneously together.
Just like Neptune and Virgo, it's like the science of our biology is integrated with the spiritual, and in understanding, our sovereign spiritual nature, the physical body is able to hold that as a container and do extraordinary things, shift our physical reality in front of our eyes because of our creative intent and our ability to work with the elementals, being earth, air, fire, water, ether. We're moving through and alchemizing this toxicity. We're turning the lead of this human experience into gold by shifting the thought forms in the moment that it presents itself to us and choosing a higher version of perception in the face of it.
I mean, in a way, the Neptune archetype is going from victim to victor.
So, self-undoing to self-realization.
Wow, incredible. Jeff?
I like that analogy. It's good.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, good analogy. Thank you. Absolutely. And I want to also send lots of healing and love to both your families, to you, holding both of you in the highest light for your loved ones, really sending that energy your ways, always creating higher solutions, resolution, opportunities in a way that serves the highest and the greatest good of all. I just want to send that energy also your way if you're accepted, of course.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
You must be very intuitive on certain things.
So wonderful. And
thank you so much. I appreciate that. In the meantime, for everyone where to find Laura, although Laura is everywhere and incredible, her website, the link is also in the description of today's episode and also on the screen right now. Please connect with Laura. Incredible journey, and you have so much to offer, Laura, and our friend David today to say, how much really love to see feel your sincerity, your heart, your connection, how much you're genuine. And then George, I believe your website is georgelewis.com. It's on the screen right now, everyone. If you feel called to connect with George in further exploration, maybe to help to your own learning how you can do. And right now, the energy I can feel we have still 111 people watching, 11 likes, so 11111 on the 999 energy master numbers. So it's really incredible. The energy.
I love that. That's
wonderful.
Splendid.
Yeah, and look out for our collaborative work. We're going to be doing, regular videos and
a tour of the Southwest.
And a tour of the Southwest coming up. So this is something exciting that we love doing together.
That's exciting. Yeah, absolutely. And well, if you have Arizona as your pathway, you must let me know because I'm in Arizona.
Wow, we can meet you in the flesh. That'd be so lovely.
It will be lovely indeed. And of course, always a joy to see you, Laura. Anytime I can grab an opportunity, I do. And eventually, my dear friend Jeff, as your life is completely reopening like a lotus flower in a brand new design.
Okay.
A new design. It's a new design for you, my friend. You are at the end of a personal cycle and the beginning of a brand new one. I know it. I hold it in my heart. And everyone who's been supporting you, even here on the podcast, we know that. And it's a reflection. Thank you, actually, Jeff, for being a pioneer and anchor for many of us on the planet. We talk about ending and completion. I really feel that you are reflecting that year of profound growth and changes for all of us. And you've inspired many. Just so you remember that and remember it in your heart. You have inspired many. So allow your own self to be inspired by those changes, if I may say so.
I appreciate that. It's tough. Trust me, it's not for the faint-hearted. That's for damn sure.
For sure. It's the courage of the heart. You're such a warrior in the spirit and beautiful soul. And I don't know if you noticed, Laura and Joy, but I love how Jeff and I, after season 6 of the podcast, so we are so complementary, and there's such a polarity and a blessing and an energy that we interweave together. It is truly phenomenal how we're able to do this, don't you think?
Oh, gosh. Well, thank you for all that you both do, and just sending you so much love, Jeff, in the healing process and the transformation that it holds. And it's always incredible to speak with you, and so wonderful to see you on the cruise. And I look forward to connecting more as everything unfolds and in person.
Yes, and in person. Absolutely. Laura and George, much love to both of you. Thank you for your service, your dedication, and thank you to be so willing to continue. Laura, I know it's been quite a journey, but you are shining more than ever, and it's very reflective. especially today and moving forward. So many blessings to your entire lineage and your family. Let's uplift everybody in their true light. Um, as we're wrapping up the official beginning of a brand new season, I want to let you know that we're going to celebrate our 100th episode on Sunday, January 26th, same time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And who are we having for the celebration of the 100th episode, Jeff?
The amazing Tom Dongo.
Mm,
Oh, nice.
Tom is
Wait
coming
for that
back.
one. I got a list of questions for him. So
Well, that is for then, but I'm glad you do. I just want to announce everyone on January 26th on a Sunday, we're going to celebrate our 100th episode. And it's really, really beautiful that today is the 99 episode, talk about year 9, and we're moving into a complete beginning with the pure potential like opens up like that double portal of energy that we moving into, and it's incredible. So we look forward to seeing everyone for the celebration of our 100 episode here. And in the meantime, so much love and gratitude to both you, Laura, and George. What a wonderful duo and energy. We got more that we were expecting. You never know here on the Infinite Star Connection podcast. Stay in your light, everyone. Believe in yourself and no fear. Just love and let the embrace of your light to inspire your path. We'll see you soon, everyone. Thank you so much.